Now you've talking about golf courses. You've got to play some incredible courses. When we were chatting 2 years ago, I remember you telling me the story about Cypress Point. And I think you were saying at that time it was one of your favorites you've got to play. But we've seen some incredible courses. Hawaii, I remember those videos were really big for you. Are there any that stand out as some of your favorites that you've played so far, and maybe some that are still on that list to get to?
For sure. So some of my favorites so far, the back nine at Cypress, there's nothing in my mind that would compare to 9 holes of golf. It's, if you ever have the honor to get to play it, it's really pretty special. I mean, 15, 16, 17, probably the coolest 3-hole stretch that there is in golf, in my opinion.
And wasn't there a cool story with that too? Like, did you get like a spot last minute? I'm trying to dig back in my mind here.
Yeah, it was something that my friend asked me to come just walk the course. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm in. I didn't. And then we're there and he hands me the bag and he's like, use my clubs, you can play. I was like, what?
Wow.
So I was like, this doesn't happen. So that was pretty sweet. That honestly, it's still pretty unbelievable. So that was how I ended up getting to play Cypress. Probably coolest, craziest course I've ever played was Ko'olau in Hawaii. It was like you're playing in the middle of Jurassic Park. That was super cool. Unfortunately, it closed, I heard, like a year and a half ago. The price to maintain that course is pretty high. It being like, I think it's a rainforest, it was technically classified being in. But that was the coolest setting of a course. Probably coolest epic views, terrain, Sand Hollow, holes 12 through 14, 15. It's like on the edge of cliffs and the red rock, and it's pretty awesome if you ever get the chance. It's in St. George, Utah.
Okay.
There's other courses there in the area too that are pretty awesome. Favorite golf hole, probably number 12 at Elkhorn Ridge in South Dakota, Spearfish, South Dakota. The front nine was a fun course, kind of not a whole lot to it. Some elevation changes for sure. Back nine, one of the coolest little stretches of holes on the back nine there. And number 12, it's a par 5. It's like 600 something yards. And there's marshland, there's cliffs and like rock edge. There's split fairway. And then to the right, it's like prairie grass rolling hills. And then down by the green, it's like a little creek rolling and massive rocks. And it's like, it's one of the craziest terrains because it's like 4 different terrains on one hole. It's a super fun hole. So I also eagled it the only time I played it. So that probably helps and how much I enjoyed it.
That definitely takes it from a 9 to a 10 really quick. So how much of this is like what you're doing is, because you're obviously rattling off quite a few even different states. Like how much is it travel versus kind of filming closer to home? I know COVID kind of changed that for everyone to a certain extent, for at least for a while, but are you traveling most of the time?
Last year, I would have to look to see exactly, but I was probably traveling more than I was home. So I was I think roughly 7 months. I did go on like a little over 2-month road trip, starting here in Nashville, went up into Wisconsin, all the way across to Seattle and looped it back. And when I dropped Micah and Katie off at the airport in Seattle and I clicked go home and it said 1 day and 13 hours of drive time, I had to take a deep breath and just like,
what was that ride home
we
like?
just
how many stops did you make?
So I stopped. So I dropped them off and I drove like 6 hours to somewhere in Oregon.
Okay.
Just a hotel off the side of the road. And then I booked it all the way to middle of Nebraska the next day. And then drove from there to actually Garrett's parents' house in Kansas City, stayed the night there, and then drove it home from there. I wasn't stopping to play golf at that point in time. I'm like, we just got to get this drive done. And
Absolutely.
so booked it back.
Oh, that's wild.
That's a route right there.